The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X Zone, everyone. My name's Rob McConnell, and as you know, I'm here Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 2 a.m. Eastern on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, Star Cable, and our growing family of broadcast affiliates right across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, Asia, India, Africa, and Europe. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. And I'd just like to, before I get to my guest this hour, send my very best wishes to Ed Shiflett and his new wife, Michelle, on tying the knot. So from everybody here, Ed, at the X Zone Radio Show, to you, the chief engineer of the Talkstar Radio Network in Titusville, Florida, the home of WPGS 840 AM. Congratulations, my friend. I look forward to continuing many good years working with you and the fine folks at Talkstar.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you. My guest this hour is no stranger to radio. His name is Mark Nechoda, and we're going to be talking to Mark this hour about life lessons from a dying DJ. An ironic twist of fate changes novelists' views of death. X Zone Nation, almost immediately after finishing his novel about confronting death, former New York City radio DJ Mark Nechoda was given 2 to 3 years to live by his doctor. For several years, Mark was a very popular radio personality known as world-famous Mark Kelly. His novel, The Old Homestead, which is found at Amazon.com, is about a radio producer who finally learns how to live and love after he has an epiphany during a brush with death. Now, just after he finished the book in 2010, Mark had lived with hepatitis C for decades, learned from his doctor the disease had progressed beyond treatment. And this is a quote from Mark. "I look at death differently since I wrote my book. I'm not afraid of it. It's just another trip to another place, to another point on the map. Ironically, that summarizes my book perfectly. Places like New York City and the Old Homestead, a 150-year-old restaurant in the city, had been some of the main characters in his life." This is his final quote before we get to talk to this fascinating gentleman. "Now I spend more time appreciating these memories and worrying about insignificant problems. Joining me now is the one and only Mark Nechoda, known worldwide and throughout the city of New York as the world-famous Mark Kelly. And Mark, welcome to the X Zone."
Thank you very much. And I couldn't think of a better introduction.
Well, you know, Mark, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, sir, you go ahead.
I couldn't think of a better introduction to the material at hand than what you just gave me. Because it completely summarizes the material that we're going to probably go over today, because it is the strangest thing, and part of what we're going to be talking about is I went to school upstate, and I studied with Rod Serling.
Oh, my goodness.
And Rod and I would go out every now and then for a beer and a cigarette.
Right.
And I can imagine old Rod just reeling back and just loving the irony of the whole situation.
Mark, you and I have to do something that you're very well aware of that we have to do here in the radio industry, and that's take our commercial break. We've got hard stops here, so I can't continue babbling even though I'd love to. Please stand by, Mark. You and I will be back in 2 minutes. Exo Nation, the one and only Mark Nechoda, who's known throughout the city of New York and throughout the U.S. and within the radio industry as the world-famous Mark Kelly. He's my special guest this hour. We're talking about life lessons from a dying DJ. We'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute break. Don't go away. Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, UFOs, or psychic phenomenon? Join me, Tim Bartley, co-host of Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, coming mid-January 2017 to the XZBN. We will channel spirits live and talk to them, revealing all kinds of amazing information. Spiritual attachments will be found and removed on the show, and so much more. To find out when you can listen to Talking to Spirits with Lightworkers Tim and Justina, visit www.xzbn.net for listeners on both sides of the veil.
Welcome back, everyone. My guest this hour is Mark Nechoda, and Mark was known to his New York fans on air as an on-air personality as the one and only world-famous Mark Kelly for many years. He also appeared professionally on stage and TV and in film. He attended Ithaca College, where he studied with award-winning film and television writer Rod Sterling, and he's a native Chicagoan. Wow, the Windy City.
Yeah.
And my gosh, you've lived in South Africa and New Zealand for nearly 10 years before returning to the States in 2002. Thanks very much for joining us, Mark. But, after reading the info that Rich and the gang at News and Expert sent me pertaining to, what's going on in your life, did you have insight? Did you have a premonition of what was going to happen? And was that the story behind the story of writing your book?
Would you like the long version, the middle version, or the short version?
I'd like the version that you are most comfortable with.
Okay, we'll kind of feel our way along.
All right.
I had started writing this book, that had nothing to do with anything that we're talking about today. And I had finished the book, and it was off to the publisher. And as it was being published, which was 2010, that's when I got diagnosed with the cirrhosis. Oh my goodness. And a few months later, in fact, a few months ago, I had to be rushed to the hospital, and it turned into, the problem was I was then diagnosed as a problem with my kidneys. So, to make a long story short, I only have about 70 to 90 days left.
God bless you.
So everything was a surprise. Now, okay, I don't know where to take it. Take it from there, Joe.
Okay, let me ask you this, Mark, and please, I hope that I don't ask you anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, because that is
nothing makes me feel uncomfortable anymore.
Oh, all right. So tell me, how has this news changed your life, and now how do you look at life?
Well, to answer your question truthfully, the news has if you look at heaven, for those who believe in heaven, or this far off place that one conceives as heaven, as right now, if we pretend that it is the Great Wall of China and the Yangtze River and a few other little exotic places like that, and I said, "Hey, Rob, would you like to go see these places?" And you'd say, "Hell yes, take me." And all of a sudden, kind of at the last time, if I said, "Well, sorry, you're not going," you'd feel sad.
Yeah.
You'd want to go. And I feel death is the same way. It's just another step on the journey. And it's a beautiful step. But that's all it is a step. And it's a step we all take. We have to take. We all have to take that step. Without doubt.
Do you fear that final step?
No, I'm ready to rock and roll. And I'll tell you, and it's just for your listeners, only on this program. I feel like the guy on the Tonight Show. And the crinkly cracklies here. I'll tell you, for listeners of this program, the secret of the book, which is also the secret of the whole shebang there. When I wrote it, of course, it's all fictional. First of all.
Sure.
And one night I was sitting there writing because I couldn't sleep. I had I can't think of the name. Anyway, I couldn't sleep. Insomnia. There's the word. I couldn't sleep, and so I kept typing and typing and typing, and I got to the end of the section of prose that deals with the death of Tom Brady, who's the character in the book who actually goes and truly dies in the book. And as I wrote the character, I started crying and crying and crying because I realized who he really was. That Tom Brady was Tom Brady. Let me try that again. I used to live across the street from a pub in New York, and there was a guy who used to come across the street, and we'd have whiskeys together and dinner and talk. And he really was a rocket scientist for real. So he used to hold his stomach, and I never knew it, but I didn't see him for a while, and finally one day I asked Ron, who is the owner of the pub, I said, "Where's Tom?" He says, "Didn't you know?" I said, "No. No what?" He says, "He's been taken to the hospital. He had stomach cancer." I said, "You've got to be kidding me. I didn't know." He said, "Yep. He went yesterday and died this morning."
Oh, heavens.
But it's the way he died. That's the kicker. That day, that morning, he called up his brother, who had a bright red 1967 red Ford Mustang. Calls him up and says, "Mike, you better come over. I don't think I'm going to last." And his brother arrives. They get in the car, and he says, "Take me to the hospital." But as they're passing the equivalent of like a 7-Eleven, he points at it like a 7-Eleven and says, "Go in here." And they go in there, and they buy 2 or 3 packs of 6 packs of beer and 2 or 3 packs of cigarettes. He finished them all, and that was it. It was the end of Tom Brady. Now, where that fits in the whole book is, now let's jump back to the book. As I was writing this thing, I'm writing it and writing it, and as I read it, because I'm proofing the whole thing, I realized I had written this story about Tom Brady. And with his family all dead, I went through and edited the story and changed all the names to Tom Brady. Why not? The whole family was dead now. So that's how I feel about Tom, And they had a party. They were whooping it up the street, up to the hospital. They had such a good time.
Mark, stand by. You and I have to take that news break at the bottom of the half hour. I want to thank you so much for being with us.
Okay.
All right, Exo Nation, we'll be back on the other side of the news with a very special person.
I'm ready.
All right, buddy. Mark Nechoda is our special guest. You can get a copy of Mark's book, The Old Homestead, if you go to Amazon.com/old_homestead_. Is it underscore or dash? You know what? We're going to check this out. We're going to check that out. No, it's dash. It's Amazon.com/old-homestead-Mark-Nechoda. And I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Welcome back, Exo Nation. My name's Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Mark Nechoda is our special guest this hour. We're talking about Mark's book, The Old Homestead. It is available, and here's the proper URL, Exo Nation. I'm sorry if I confused anybody out there, but we're going to have this linked onto the archive page so that you can just go there and click it. However, for those of you who would like to get it as soon as you can, the name of the book, once again, is The Old Homestead. And you can get it at amazon.com/old-homestead-Mark-Nechoda. Now, Nechoda is spelled Nechoda. So one more time, amazon.com/old-homestead-Mark-Nechoda. Mark, how has the New York City radio industry changed since you left?
Well, I'm now in Dallas, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
But apart from that, everything in the world has changed. I mean, when I left, we had MOR. Now we have let me try this again. We had AOR.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have MOR, which is all over the road. We've lost personality. We've lost focus. We've lost any ability to
I don't think radio's as personal as it used to be.
That's what I meant by personality
Yeah.
radio. I mean, people used to pick up and listen to myself or whomever because they wanted to listen to the show. The music, okay, but it was the music they wanted to listen to, the DJ they wanted to listen to, and actually the DJ was kind of a background. They enjoyed the jokes.
Mm-hmm.
They enjoyed the well, let me just leave it there. They enjoy the jokes. They don't enjoy the vulgarism.
Yeah, like shock jocks. They don't cut it for me. Like, I'm sorry, I'm from the old school, and when it comes to radio or TV or any part of the media, I believe that the person on this end of the mic has to be respectful of the person on the other end, and that we become part of their families.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know.
What were some of the highlights when you look back at your broadcasting career? What were some of the highlights that you say, wow, I was part of that?
Well, taught that? I wasn't taught anything. The most I had fun. I was like the Ernie Kovacs of radio. So one of my favorite pranks that I did one day. If you know the song "April in Paris" by Count Basie. Well, he plays the song, and then the Mills Brothers come in. Oh, Mr. Count Basie, play that tune one more time. And then they'd come in and play it actually two more times. And then the song would be done. But I would record that on a cart.
Yeah.
That gives you an idea how old I am. So I would play the song, play the cart, go back to the song, go back to the cart, go back to the song, go back to the cart. And I kept this up for nearly 45 minutes. No one even... Honey, is he playing that record again for 45 minutes? No, so that's what it was like on this show. It was a continuous zoo.
Do you have any advice for aspiring DJs out there? I mean real DJs, not the internet blog DJs that are just hobbyists, but I mean professional DJs like yourself.
Wow. Wow. Despite the fact that I think there is no career anymore with the shock jocks and everything else, there's a lot of money to be made and a career in doing voiceovers and that type of thing, as opposed to just being on the air.
So are you saying that the day of the Morning Man, those are marked days?
I wouldn't call them marked days, because it has nothing to do with morning or evening or afternoon. It's just very few stations, if any, program have a program. I'll just leave it at that. Very few stations program with people anymore.
Yeah, it's quite.
And the ones they do have, shock jocks and people I don't want to listen to.
I remember when I was a kid, I was raised in Montreal, and I used to listen to CFCF. And after school, the ritual was you went home, you did your homework to Dave Boxer, who did the teen shows. He was on, I think, from 4 until 7 or 8, every Monday through Friday. And, he's the guy who introduced Montreal to the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the British invasion.
Oh, yeah.
They, to me, they were the golden days of radio.
Yeah, I think every market had one.
Wolfman Jack. There's another example of a radio icon.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Wolfman was great, and that was. But he turned a Saturday night syndication into a whole empire.
Yep.
Long before syndication occurred, really. He had one show, one night, and thoroughly enjoyed it, and so did everybody else. It was Cousin Brucey on WCBS. And I'm afraid we're going to bore everybody.
But that is in the day when the studio was actually at the transmission tower.
Yeah. I was assistant engineer. I had to climb the tower one night. That was not fun. That was not fun. But it was something I'm glad I did once, just to say I did it.
Just to say you did it. A good friend of mine is the chief engineer at 610 CKDB and hits 97.7 in St. Catharines, Joe Gurney. And, I've gone out to the transmission towers with him a couple of times when I was there. And I'm telling you, I look up and I say, that's as far as I want to go. You just, that's your job. That's your job. But, there have been so many changes in radio. In your opinion, Mark, has radio kept up with the changes of society?
I think that's a big no. Because you have radio on one side. Mm-hmm. That has lost all personality, all everything. It's just a big blah. And then you have the books on the other end that tend to get a bit smutty and romantic. And then everything else in between. So,
if you could be program director of every radio station for one day, how would you run that station?
With an iron fist.
What would you say to your on-air personalities that first meeting in your office?
The first thing in the office, I would say, right, today we are going to do how to describe it.
So I guess what you're trying to say is that today we get back to basics and we become a radio station, a real radio station, a station that cares for its listener, a station that cares for the community, a station that cares.
Yeah, there was a radio station in New York called WRTN,
Mm-hmm.
Return Radio. What idiot lost those call letters? I'll never know, but I know. I would have taken those, and right now it filters around the U.S. and Canada as the all classics format. They're the ones who have people like I need a cup of coffee is what I need. They're the ones who, that's where you would listen to something like Dinah Shore,
Mm-hmm.
or one of those types, as well as Rosemary Clooney and other things, as well as tunes from the 50s and 60s
Mm-hmm.
and 70s. And you put all that, there's a way to format and counter format, and I would run that for a day.
All right, stand by. You and I have to take our final break for this hour, Mark. Exo Nation,
right.
Mark Nechoda is our special guest. If you'd like to get a copy of Mark's book entitled The Old Homestead, www.amazon.com/old-homestead-Mark-Nechoda. And that is spelled Nechoda. Mark and I return on the other side of this break here in the X Zone. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world.
Exonation, Mark Nechoda is with us, so we're talking about his book, The Old Homestead, and life lessons learned from a dying DJ, an ironic twist of fate changes a novelist's view of death. First of all, Mark, thank you so much for being with us, and what advice do you have for people who may fear death?
Go for it. That's my advice. Go for it. It's going to happen anyway. Whether it happens tomorrow at the bus stop, or it happens in about 5 years, or it happens in 10 years, or it happens at the age of 75. It's going to happen. So what the heck are everybody afraid of?
How do you prepare those around you, though, who know that you're going to be passing in a set period of time?
That's what we're afraid of.
Yeah.
We're not the ones who are afraid. It's everybody else who's afraid. And we got to get them in the mood. I wish we had Bette Midler around for that. But anyway.
You know...
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, because I heard something nice coming out of your mouth.
I look at how certain nationalities and certain people celebrate death. You know, they celebrate the life of the person, the accomplishments, the upside, like the Irish. And I often wonder, is it for our own loss, the loss of ourselves, or is it the loss of the person who passes that we're really grieving for?
Do we even go? Do we even leave?
Yeah. These are good questions, and unfortunately, I have to say so long, Mark, but I do want to thank you ever so much. You're in my prayers, my friend.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your thoughts.
God bless. We'll hope to speak to you in the future. Take care, Mark.
Sure, anytime.
I'll be back on the other side of this break, Exo Nation.